Happy Monday night, everyone. Jason with End the Simpademic. I just want to address one little part of the manosphere movement here, and I'm not going to sit there and bash it, but I do want to take a little bit of time to take a little bit of deep thought and reflection into this one, and that is the Passport Bros movement, where men go overseas to try to secure their wives or future women or whatever, and this is not something I would ever participate in personally, despite the fact that there are some Eastern European women in particular who I can't say I really deeply know, but I'm very familiar with. And likewise, they're a little familiar with me too. Those are some of the kindest, sweetest women that you probably would ever meet. With that, and I'm talking about countries like Poland and Czech Republic, Slovakia, and even the Baltics, which are Lithuania, Latvia, and Estonia. Some of the kindest women that you probably could ever ask for are from these countries. Now then, step back real quick. This is driven a lot of times by black pill content. Hey, women in the West are so feminist, they're so terrible, that I'm just going to grab my passport and go to a different country. I want any man who's considering this to kind of step back, take a breath, exhale, and think this one through. Especially if you have, close friends and family in the United States. Are you willing to throw that type of community away to chase something that you would be doing on the heels of a black pill video on YouTube, for example? Then on the other hand, you got to think about money. Are you taking your job with you overseas working remote? That would likely be the best scenario, because some of these countries have a very good exchange rate. And particularly countries like the Baltics, possibly the Czech Republic, a couple of others, your dollar will actually carry you very far if you're doing foreign exchange with a job that you have in the West. That said, if you don't, and you're going to be trying to find employment in these countries, finding employment in any new country, I think, is just a really rough road to hoe. But at the same time, you're going to be making an income that is more level set with that particular economy. So even though Latvia and Lithuania in particular are a lot less expensive to live in, but the wages and income are also low to match. And so it would be like moving from California to Mississippi, for example. Yeah, it's cheaper than dirt to live in Mississippi, but have you seen the pay rates for the jobs there? Not so good. You got to think about logistics. You got to think about, people that you're going to be leaving behind in the United States. Is there anybody that's close, like parents, for example? Or, in my case, there's one daughter involved. Don't make this type of decision on a reflex or a jump. One decision that I've made as far as moving is concerned is I do want to make it back home to Katy, which is a mega suburb on the west side of Houston. That said, I'm not going to move next week, next month, or maybe even next year. This is something that I'm going to do on my own time, my own dime. But I look at the numbers versus Minnesota, and they're very favorable there. Incomes are about 5 to 10% higher. Housing expenses are about 10% lower. So economically, as much as I emotionally would love to go home, economically it fits. So passport bros thing, I would really, really strongly suggest everybody take the same tack. You need to look at your financial situations. Because the other thing is that if you are in an overseas situation, the woman is probably expecting you to take care of them. And if you're in a favorable situation, this isn't so bad. But if you're in a not so favorable situation, you may want to find yourself putting yourself stuck between a rock and a hard place. And just remember, as difficult and as painful as dating can be in the United States, I know, as I mentioned last night, two of the common threads inside of Black Pill content have actually happened to me in real life. But at the end of the day, I think I just want to say this. As far as dating and looking is concerned, you are looking for one person. One person is all you're looking for. You're not looking for a harem. You're not looking for a collective. You're just looking for that one woman. A lot of those Eastern European countries, for example, are smaller in population. The United States is as far as population is concerned, we're fourth in the world. We are only behind Russia in third. China is second, and India is number one nowadays. They've just passed China a few years ago. And I don't see a whole lot of passport bros rushing to go to any of those three countries. For some reason, they tend to focus in Southeastern Asia, and I actually am 50% Asian, Japan to be exact. But racing yourself to the Philippines just for that purpose, I can't say for certain that you're gonna adjust or adapt particularly well. The other hazard that I thought of when it comes to this is some of these women are actually trying to go the other direction. And if you come over there with U.S. citizenship and a passport, if you find the wrong one, they may be trying to take advantage of you to get across the ocean other direction, get over here to the U.S. These are all things to think through. This is not a decision to be made on a reflex. I'm not even going to be moving within the United States on a reflex. As much of an emotional bond as I have with the greater Katy region, that's not something that I'm going to be looking at doing overnight. I'm going to take my time and I'm going to see where my career happens to take me first. As far as careers are concerned, I work for a financial institution, one of the big four actually, and those are not the jobs that are primarily. In fact, I don't think there's any of the big four banks that have any sort of operations in the Katy region. You're looking at, obviously, with Katy being the western tip of the Houston Energy Corridor, you're obviously looking for jobs inside of energy. The Igloo Coolers is actually headquartered and makes most of their products in Katy. Academy Sports and Outdoors, the sporting goods chain, is also headquartered there. And then, of course, like I said before, you've got all of the jobs that are in the energy corridor of Western Houston, which is kind of how Katy became the size that it is. So much to think of. Hopefully you don't get a migraine doing it, but you have to do it. If you're going to be making that kind of a move, you have to do it. It's not something that you want to take, cultural changes, financial implications. You don't want to take any of that lightly. Excuse me. You want to have everything thought through and have a plan. I always like to have a plan. Plans don't always work, but you always should have one. This is no different. So before you jump on your reflex and take that red pill black pill content and decide that Western women are all ran through worthless and just, going after your money. Well, if you're a passport bro, you can find that too. Especially in some of the poor countries in that particular list. So anyhow, kicking my feet up here, getting ready for Tuesday tomorrow. As I mentioned last night, we got a notable snowstorm coming in up here. Talking about 48 inches of snow and possible winds as high as 50 miles an hour. If you're in Minnesota, the further north you are, the worse it's going to be. If this is you, stay warm, stay safe. Make sure you're stocked up. Don't do anything stupid. Peace out, homies.